Welcome back to episode 19 of the podcast. Yet again, I'm joined by Oscar. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going just fine over here in Chicago. It's actually going to
Yeah,
be a really good weekend of fights. I think this card is getting overlooked because we got that big pay-per-view coming up on March 6th. But this is a fine night of fights we got coming up.
yeah, talking about great fights, and that's exactly what we had on the weekend. Blaydes versus Lewis. We had some incredible fights. Most of the fights ended with a finish. I think what was the first decision of the night? Did 5 fights get
Gordon,
finished in a row? One,
Gordon.
two, three, four. Gordon was the first decision. It was incredible. Knockouts after knockouts. It was such a great, entertaining card. And me and Oscar are here to speak about them. We kind of announced on the show last week that we're going to start going briefly over the prelims. We don't want to go too in depth because we are going over our limit. We're going for like an hour and a half. So we'll quickly go over it. We'll quickly talk about Sergey Spivak and how dominant he was. He looked dominant in that fight versus Jared and, cruised his victory to a TKO win. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I actually said we should do a top 3 moments from the prelims. But the fact that there were so many finishes on this card, I think we would do it. We wouldn't do it justice if we didn't recap every fight because these finishes were insane. We saw the first third round of the night and the final fight of the prelims. That was awesome. All right, here Spivak and Bandera went kind of how I expected it to. I thought Spivak probably could get the finish, but I realized that Bandera was a black belt himself, so I think he would just get the ground and pound, and that's what happened here. That was a bad stoppage, if you ask me.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
took a
like to
lot.
see a guy. Yeah, I don't
He
like
took
to
a lot
see
of
a guy.
punishment that he didn't need to.
Yeah, I don't like to see a guy get hit that many times when he's clearly not. He clearly doesn't have that much of a chance of getting out of the position. Spivak is a monster. I think a ton of these unranked guys would not fare well against him, but I think that he would struggle at the upper echelon, but he's still got some learning to do. I think he can give problems to any unranked guy, and I think we could possibly see him fight Aspinall next. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah, that would be a great fight. Aspinall did call out, Dorcas or Alexei Olenek. But, we'll see what happens with Aspinall in the future. But I wouldn't mind that Spivak fight. That would be a very entertaining fight. Moving on to Zahabi, we're talking quickly about the 3 entertaining fights. So Zahabi got a win against Draco Rodriguez. We can't really talk much about that fight because it didn't last that long. But, it was a great knockout from Zahabi. Get back to the win column. And Casey O'Neill, who was her debut in the UFC, came against Shana Dobson, who just upset the odds last year with that upset win against Miria Agapova, a huge upset win. How excited was you for Casey O'Neill, and how impressed was you with her performance?
I think Casey O'Neill has all the potential in the world. I think she could be champion in the next 5 years if certain champions retire, of course. But I think she really stands out amongst these prospects. And Shannon Dobson, as I said, I said that you shouldn't be in the UFC if you have a losing record. She did not have a losing record before this fight. She was actually 4-4, and now she's 4-5. I believe she does not belong in the UFC, and Casey O'Neill shined.
She did indeed, and she looked impressive. She got that she got rocked in the first round, if I remember though. She got hit by a punch. She was getting caught in the feet. But she got cracked on earlier. But nonetheless, she got the fight to the ground, and after that, it was complete dominance. That's where she looked comfortable. Is on the ground, and she looked in control there. But we're talking about crazy knockouts. Julian Rosen versus Nate Lambert. A bit of an early stoppage, people thought, but I thought it was quite a sensible stoppage. I think he was going to take more punishment after that. I think he dropped heavily, and I think the referee done well to get in and stop the fight. What's your thoughts on the stoppage in the fight? I think we might have lost Oscar. I'm
Yeah,
not too
well,
sure
it
what's
looks
happening
like
here, but
he's
crazy
staying
knockout.
his kryptonite. He got knocked out by Herbert Burns with a knee, and now he gets. No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Have some technical difficulties over here.
Yeah,
You're still here?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay, I think we have.
Was everything I want out of fighting. This was not even an entire minute, and we saw what? Yeah,
I think we're having some technical difficulties. Oscar, if you can hear me, quickly leave and join back, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yep, he got that. Well, anyway, a crazy knockout from Julian Rosa. A flying knee straight out the middle. And a crazy fight between the two as well. As soon as the fight started, they went to war. Both men landed incredible amount of punches. Insane fight back and forth. And we saw, Julian Rosa get that finish early on with that flying knee. Crazy fight. Oscar, do we have you back?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do.
This was everything out that fight. Right there was everything I want out of a fight. That was extremely wild. Nate Landwehr, it looks like he fights like they only pay him in bonus money. He always gets in these wars, and like against Darren Elkins. That fight with Mavsar Evolev would have been very interesting, but that one got torn apart. But Julian Rosa, this is his third stint in the UFC, and he looks better than ever. I think this guy should go on a prospect killing tour, if you ask me. What he did with Sean Wilson was amazing, and I would love to see him fight very soon. He's one of the most entertaining fighters in this featherweight division.
Yeah, I couldn't put it any better myself. John Castaneda, he upset the veteran in Eddie Edwinan. A crazy knockout. Eddie Edwinan, I thought, was looking sharp early on, very quick on the feet, and then John Castaneda, kind of got his timing, kind of got his distance, and started to pick away at Eddie, and we saw him got the knockout. And then we saw, the first decision of the night, Jared Gordon, Danny Chavez. I thought Danny Chavez was going to take this one. I was disappointed with the output of Danny Chavez. I felt like he wasn't checking them leg kicks. Them leg kicks from Gordon were beautiful. And we've seen a really top-notch performance from Gordon. What were your thoughts on the first decision of the night? It's not going well for us over here.
Yeah, I hate to make excuses, but let's not forget Jared Gordon did make weight, and he was able to outmuscle Chavez, who did make weight. Are you hearing me?
I am, but you're very delayed, Oscar.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
That's strange. I don't know what the deal is. All right, I think I'm gonna have to try on my on a different device.
Okay, cool. I'll continue speaking. Crazy decision fight between these two. We saw a really good matchup between Jared Gordon and Dan Chavez. A very competitive first round. Gordon just always seemed to have that edge in striking, which caught me off guard. I thought Chavez was the better striker out of the two. And then Gordon, was really good with them leg kicks and stayed more busy than Chavez, and that was the difference maker. And then the main event, the main card, we saw that first fight with Tom Aspinall versus Andrei Arlovski. A crazy, test for Tom Aspinall to see, where he really is in where he's going to be in the future. And Tom just showed his youth in this fight. I think the youth was important. He was much quicker on the feet. Tom's hands were much sharper than Arlovski's and seemed to be more stinging. Every time he landed, kind of paid... Arlovski felt it, we saw. And then the second round, he showed his versatility in the fight when he shot for that takedown, and it was one of the quickest takedowns I've seen for a heavyweight. He's really quick. Arlovski made a mistake. He gave up his neck. Tom was really quick to grab that neck, finish the fight, and I'm really excited to see where Tom goes from here. I really think he could become a champion in the future. He's so well rounded. His game is incredible. He called out Chris Daukaus or Alexei Oleinik. Maybe a Chris Daukaus fight, that would be something that would be interesting. Chris Daukaus is now who had that fight against Alexei Oleinik. But yeah, we'll see whatever's next for Tom. I'm excited to see where he goes. A great performance against Andrei Arlovski. I'm excited to see maybe who he faces next. Talking about Tom Aspinall, who would you like to see Tom Aspinall face next?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that Daukaus could fight him. No, never mind. Spivak could fight him. Daukaus could fight him. I honestly just want to see this guy stay active. He says he wants 3 fights this year, and that's realistic for him. I think in the next decade, we'll see him become heavyweight champion, because I believe everything that comes out of his mouth when he's saying. He still has to learn, and it may not be in the next 5 years that becomes champion, but in the next 10 years, it's a real possibility. He's not even 30. He's got all the tools to do it. As you saw, he's a black belt, and he got that rear naked choke on Arlovski. And it's pick your poison with this guy, as you saw.
Yeah, exactly. It showed in this fight, showed his versatility. In that first round, he almost finished Arlovski on the feet. He said in the post-fight, he kind of, tried to finish that fight, and maybe got a little bit too tired. But in the second round, that takedown from Tom was really quick for a heavyweight. I thought the way he grabbed them legs and took him down, it was very fast for a heavyweight, for a big person to move that quick and take him down. And Arlovski, made that mistake, tried to get up, gave his neck up, and Tom pounced on it and got that finish. A great performance for Tom Aspinall. I'd love to see what was next for him. But a fight that I really, I really, it caught me off guard, this fight. I really thought this wasn't going to go the distance, and it did. Well, I'm talking about Phil Hawes versus Nassourdine Imavov. I thought Phil Hawes would be able to knock him out. That was far from it. It was on paper, I thought this was, it could have had fight the night potential written all over it. Didn't really plan out. Probably, it just weren't as much action on the fight. I was very disappointed with the fight. Definitely after thinking about the potential before the fight. Nonetheless, Hawes showed that, he has somewhat grappling, but he did in the third round definitely get tired. We saw him in the third down, definitely slow down, almost finished at a time. But yeah, Hawes showed that he's flexible, he can get the fight to the ground. But, I expected more out of this fight, and I was quite disappointed. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, if there was a fourth round to this fight, Phil Hawes would have gone to sleep. Nassourdine Imavov was clearly the better striker once they got in there. It appeared that Phil Hawes was content to lay and pray. He just wanted to clinch him against the fence and get that control time. But as we saw later in the night, the judges are looking for damage, not control time. But thankfully, he did do a fair amount of damage in rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah, moving on to the next fight, we have Chris Daukaus versus Alexei Oleinik. And heading into this fight, I thought it was, absurd that Alexei Oleinik was an underdog. I thought, I thought it was ridiculous that he was an underdog. I thought, with the amount of fights Alexei Oleinik's been through, he's seen everybody in his MMA career. And I thought, this is another person in Alexei Oleinik's, I feel like Alexei Oleinik loses to the best of the best in division, but he loses to, he loses to the best of the best in division, but he beats the guys outside the ranks. And I thought Alexei Oleinik was going to pick up a submission win against Chris Daukaus, and I was wrong. Chris Daukaus showed me how good he was. He looked phenomenal in this fight. His hands are so sharp, and he places them beautifully. But Alexei Oleinik, it was quite a sad watch. He's old. I think it's maybe time to hang him up if I was Alexei Oleinik and maybe thinking about retiring. But as of Daukaus, man, I think that matchup with Aspinall would be perfect next. I think it's a great fight between two strikers, and it would be in such a great tactical fight. But, Daukaus showed me how good he was in this fight. I really thought Alexei was going to win this fight, and I thought it was absurd that he was the underdog. I thought Alexei beats all the guys outside the ranks, but when he comes to the top 10, top 5, he loses. And Daukaus showed that, he's a legit heavyweight and he's going to be around. What are your thoughts on the win?
I actually think Dawkins should fight Junior Dos Santos next. This
Woo.
might shock you, but Junior Dos Santos is now ranked below Chris Dawkins. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, and Junior should would probably get the win there, but uh, never mind that. Chris Dawkins looked amazing in this fight. I actually had money on this fight going under a round and a half, and that's what happened. Chris Dawkins looked amazing. His striking is really smooth. You know, he's got really great speed for a heavyweight, which is why he only weighs like 230 something pounds. And Olenek is also one of those guys that weighs in at a lower number than most heavyweights. But he's 43. He has the most experience out of everyone on the roster. But there's just so many miles on him. As you saw, it's almost uncomfortable seeing a guy of that age just get hit like that. It's a little uncomfortable to watch. And as you said, it might be time for him to retire. But I do think there's some fun legend versus legend matchups you can make down there. I'd like to see him fight Ben Rothwell, the winner of Ben Rothwell and Felipe Lins.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. Maybe Ondrolowski, them two very veterans, but like you said, I'd love to see some legend versus legend matchups. That'd be good in the future. Talking about great, fights. Derek Miller defeated Charles Rosa, and this was a really good, interesting matchup. Heading into this fight, I thought Rosa was going to have the edge on the ground. Minna proved me wrong. He put on a clinic with his wrestling and jiu-jitsu versus a really high black belt in Rosa. Not really much to speak about this fight. It was an incredible pace set from Minna on the ground. His transitions, always looking for the submission. But most importantly, I want to mention how incredible is Kraus as a coach. This guy has done absolute wonders for fighters. We've seen it with Kevin Kroom, Derek Minner. He's really changed them into legit fighters. Kraus is definitely a coach, to go over there. He's such a great coach, and I like what he's done with some fighters. But yeah, Minner really put on a clinic on the ground against a high-level black belt Rosa. But, I should have noticed that with Bryce Mitchell. When Bryce Mitchell controlled Rosa, I should have thought maybe can Minna do that? But I didn't think Minna was would be able to do that to Rosa, and he proved me wrong. What are your thoughts on the Minna fight?
Yeah, what shocked me most about this fight was the fact that Minner hurt him on the feet in the second round. I thought Charles Rosa would have the clear advantage on the feet here. In fact, he took Yair Rodriguez to a split decision. He had a competitive fight with Shane Burgos, and that fight against Kevin Aguilar he had was basically it was mainly on the feet, and he pieced up Kevin Aguilar. So I thought he can do that here, but no, Derek Minner would not be denied on this night. He looked amazing out there, and Kevin Kroom trains at the same gym with him, and we're going to talk about Kevin Kroom later. In fact, audio listeners will get to listen to Kevin Kroom's interview with Lenny from 4 months ago. Kevin Kroom he's a real character, man, and those guys are over at Syndicate MMA, I believe it is, with James Cross. Those guys are are great fighters. James Cross can guide them. Also, Derek Minner, he put Charles Rosa right in front of James Krause. So James Krause was able to tell Derek Minner all the proper instructions to stay in the right positions. Charles Rosa only had a Hail Mary armbar or triangle, but he never was really close to finishing it. And I think James Krause should be credited for that.
Give me 2 secs, Oscar. My headphones have died. Give me 2 secs. Carry on speaking about
All
the next
right.
fight. We talk about Yannick Skitskaya versus Caitlin Vieira. Quickly give him the lowdown on that fight.
Yeah, well, this fight really taught us a lot about how MMA judging has evolved. As you saw, Ketlin Vieira she controlled most of that third round, but Yana Kunitskaya turned it around on her, and while she had gotten her back taken, she was able to get a lot of significant damage on her. She landed some elbows, she busted her open. There was a huge hematoma on Ketlin Vieira's head. It was quite ugly to look at, and she did not look like the winner there. In fact, it looked like she had gotten stopped. And I think if there was a fourth round of the fight, who knows what would have happened. I was actually surprised about how good Yana Kunitskay's grappling looked. I believe I forgot which round it was, but she had almost an entire round of control time, and she looked really great that night. Tiago Santos in her corner might be a good look charm. She's done nothing but had nothing but pretty good performances with Tiago Santos in the corner. I think this is a perfect. This might be a good stepping stone for Yana Kunitskaya to maybe get matched up with Jermaine Durandamy. I know Jermaine actually turned down that Holly Holm rematch. I was waiting on that rematch. It looks like we won't be seeing it because Jermaine is confident that she would win if it happens again. I don't know what's next for Yana, if it's Jermaine or possibly Irene Aldana. There's a lot of good matchups in that division, and there's no clear number one contender for Amanda Nunes. I think somebody really needs to stand out or have a spectacular knockout for them to get the title against Amanda Nunes. I heard John Anik's podcast with Kenny Florian, and he said that her time at bantamweight is limited. I don't think she's gonna cut down at bantamweight too many times. In fact, she doesn't have the best of time cutting the featherweight. Lenny, are your headphones working now?
Yes, we are good to go.
All right. Yeah. Well, what did you think about the scoring for this fight? Did you think that Kunitskaya earned the judges' nod that night?
I think it was a great fight from both women, and I think it was the. It's tough for me to say that maybe Yana won this fight. I think Vieira, was great on the ground, but actually, I can see why the judges did give it to Yana though, because when Vieira would get the fight to the ground, she would just sit there, and Yana was active wherever the fight was. Whether the fight was on the ground, on the feet, she was active. Yeah, that's the only way I can look at it, man. Is the judges gave it to Yana because she was active, but if, this is a great learning curve for Caitlin Vieira. Though she looks at this fight and thinking, well, if I get the fight and it's close in the judges' scorecards, I need to be active. And yeah, that's the only way I could really give it to Yana because she was more active than Vieira.
Yeah, I think Caitlin Vieira has shown that in third round she does not do well. She lost the third round to Sijara Eubanks. I think Caitlin Vieira can definitely learn from this loss.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about the main event of the evening. Curtis Blaydes versus Derek Lewis. An insane main event. Crazy. The first round was brilliant from both men. We saw Blaydes looking good on the feet, mixing up really well with his strikes. And Lewis, was slow, looked a bit timid. He was waiting for that one big shot. That's what it was in the first round, waiting for that one big shot. And that one big shot landed. And it was in the second round. And it completely destroyed Blaydes, knocked him out completely unconscious. I felt like Blaydes played a dangerous game standing with Lewis. But as soon as Lewis landed that shot, he timed it with perfection. And one of the greatest knockouts we'll probably see in 2021. Crazy upset from an upset on the cards of the bookies. Incredible. What are your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, this was an upset on many levels. Derek Lewis was unable to knock out Ilir Latifi, who had previously been knocked out by Volkan Ozdemir, light heavyweight. Derek Lewis was able to finish this in under a round and a half, and I was dumb enough to bet on this fight going over a round and a half because I thought Blaydes would be able to out wrestle Derek like Latifi was able to do for about 9 minutes. I think that this is the best. This might be the best Derek Lewis we've seen. This guy has slimmed down a little bit. He's admitted to still eating bad food, but I think if this guy really gets disciplined, he can be a he could possibly knock out Stipe on any given night. Who knows? Who knows? I think that Derek Lewis will end up being in a big matchup next. I think he might get his Overeem wish, but that could be a cruel matchup for Overeem considering he looked really beat up. He got beat up in his last one. I don't know. I honestly, above all, what I would like to see is a rematch against Volkov. I think that Volkov would win the second time around, especially if it was 5 rounds. But hey, Blaydes has he has nowhere to go but up. This might be rock bottom for him. He got knocked out cold by Derek Lewis, who has insane power. He just tied Vitor for most UFC knockouts of all time. And this was a shocking one. This is the biggest UFC upset since Michael Bisping knocking out Luke Rockhold at UFC 199. That was, it's moments like these that makes us watch the sport when we expect one guy to implement his game plan and just dominate a fight, but there's so many variables to this game, and Derek Lewis reminded us of that.
Exactly, 100%. Well, that's our review. A review of the last card. Incredible card, an incredible knockout from Derek Lewis, and and then called out, as you said there, Overeem, called out Overeem. If he does get that wish, that would be an interesting fight. But I would like to see him take on maybe Volkov or maybe Jones if he has a warm-up fight, heavyweight. But I don't think that will happen versus Jones. But if it's not, hopefully it's Volkov.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see, especially for 5 rounds, because Derek Lewis just admitted to not wanting to fight 5-round fights, and Volkov is fairly comfortable with 5-round fights.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving on to the next event, we'll quickly preview this one. We'll quickly go over who our picks are. We'll try and keep this one under 45 minutes. That would be good, Oscar?
Yeah, that's a goal now, because the Kevin Pruden interview would make things to just over an hour. Now, I don't think the listeners want to hear another hour and a half podcast. It's a little excessive.
100%. Well, Dustin Jacoby or Maxim Grishin? I got Dustin.
I think that Grisham by decision is a pick I think that might be the pick to make here, because Jacoby was in Glory Kickboxing for many years, and Grisham has been very active. In fact, Grisham has over 30 fights. He just has more experience. He's been in this MMA game longer. So I would have to favor the guy who's been more active in the sport rather than the guy who was doing purely stand-up for a couple of years. I think he could take him down. And on the feet, he'll be threatened by that striking of Jacoby. Jacoby has looked exceptional ever since he came into MMA. He's finished everyone except Ty Flores, who he hurt very badly in the Contender Series. I think that Jacoby could give anybody a tough time on the feet in this division, but this is MMA. We got other factors in the sport, and I think that Grisham will take him down and control him. Grisham, we've seen this guy get decisions and make fights, boring. He makes them ugly and boring. He'll clinch you against the fence. He doesn't care, and I think he gets a win here. But it could be a split decision because we got a power advantage on the Jacoby side.
Yeah, out of the 8 losses Grisham's had in his career, 3 of them he's lost by knockout. So that's interesting. But I'm picking with Jacoby. I hope to see him improve, and he's also a likable guy. I was so happy to see come back to the UFC after I think it was 11 years, maybe, or 7 years that he was outside of the UFC. Came back, got his shot, took it with full advantage. But Ronnie Lawrence versus Vince Cashiero. This one I'm going to go with Ronnie. I've seen his tape outside the UFC. He looks incredible. I'm going to go with Ronnie with this one. What's your thoughts?
Ronnie has the advantage everywhere. He has a reach advantage. He has a height advantage. He has a better stand-up. He has a better ground game. He's bigger. I don't see how Vince gets this done. I think this is a bad matchup for Vince. And Ronnie's kicking game will give him real trouble. His leg kicks, his head kicks. This is just going to be a showcase fight for Ronnie, if you ask me.
100%, I agree with you. A really good fight on the prelims. Alonzo Menfield and William Knight, a fight between 2 powerhouses. But I'm going to have to go with William Knight in this one. If it goes past 2 rounds, might have to Alonzo Menfield. But I think William Knight, we've seen Alonzo Menfield I think he was maybe finished a few fights ago. In his last fight against Vince. Yeah, if you get knocked out by Vince, man, what's William Knight gonna do to you? That guy is huge. That guy's a beast. So this fight, I'm gonna pick William Knight.
Yeah, I think Alonzo Menifield will get this done by knockout. I just think Alonzo has a ton of power, and he'll probably land on William. William has been in trouble in previous fights before. In fact, this fight against Tafu in Chukwi, that was a loss, but he disputes that loss to this day. But he can get hit, and Alonzo Menifield will probably put you out if you let him hit you, and I think that's what happened here. But this fight is anybody's fight.
Oh man! As I said, only quick picks for the prelims, and the main card. We'll briefly go over it. Alexa Davis versus Sabina Mazo. Who are you going with this one?
Yeah, I think Sabina Mazo is clearly the better striker, which is why she's a big favorite in this spot. I think that Alexis Davis might be near retirement. I believe she's 36 now. I don't think there's she was around in the Ronda era. She got finished by Ronda, and I really haven't seen a great improvement from her. She's very flat-footed, and Sabina Mazo is probably going to outstrike her for 3 rounds and win the unanimous decision. But who knows? Who knows? In women's MMA, it's a coin flip for me at the lower level. And Alexis Davis does have the experience advantage. She could clinch her up against the cage and get a decision, but I just think Sabina and Mazo will outstrike it.
Yeah, I pick with you. I had an interview with Sabina Mazo. Well, not me. On the Pub Sports Radio, she talked about finishing her on the feet. That she likes to see a dead body when it finishes her opponent. So that was kind of crazy. But anyway, I've got Sabina Mazo in this fight. But Alex Oliveira, he's got a new opponent in front of him, and Ramzan Kuramagomedov.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, that was a good one.
That's it's fairly easy to pronounce for me. It's Nurmagomedov with a K, but this guy is no joke. He's undefeated. He's these Russian neckbeards will always give you a problem on the ground, and that's what he might beat Oliveira here. I honestly don't know enough about the guy to say with all confidence that he beats Oliveira, but we've seen Oliveira just get out-grappled despite the fact that he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's shown poor fight IQ in the past. He got finished by Yancy Medeiros because he would not stop engaging in a wild brawl. So I'm going to go with the guy who likes to get it done, mostly by decision, like he did against Jordan Williams on the Contender Series. So I'll side with Hamzan.
I'm going to agree with you. When you see an 8-0, an 8-0 fighter from Russia coming inside the UFC, you know he's got talent, and I'm really excited to see his debut. A lot of submissions on his record. Maybe he can get it done via submission. We've seen Alex Oliveira get choked out in his last fight against Ramazov. Oh, what's his name? Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov. Yeah. We saw him got submitted. So this is a tough matchup. Another one for Alex Oliveira. It could be 2 back-to-back losses for him. And that's the only way I see it going. 2 back-to-back losses for Alex Oliveira. And moving to the main event on the prelims, Alex Hernandez versus Tiago Moises. A really good fight. We've seen Alex Hernandez recently bounce back win against Chris Gutzemacher. But since that move, Alex Hernandez, he moved gyms, and since then he's looked incredible. Is it Factory X Muay Thai, or was he at Factory X before? So he moved to Factory X, and that in his last fight he looked more patient. He just looked to pick his shots a lot more better. And coming in against Tiago Moises with that competitive fight against Bobby Green, and then his biggest win of his career versus Michael Johnson. But if you look at his record, hasn't been finished. Has a loss to Jason Knight back in the day. Not too much to go of this, but maybe I'm feeling a decision win from Tiago Moises.
Oh, I just don't see that at all. In fact, I might bet a decision win by Alexander Hernandez. He's the better striker, and he has the better wrestling. I think he could take down Moises and avoid the submission threats from him. I think that Bobby Green clearly won the fight with Tiago Moises. I showed you guys last time around that he outstruck him in every single round. I just don't see how Tiago won that fight. Of course, Bobby got a little foolish at the end of that, but man, I don't see an argument for Tiago Moises winning this fight unless he gets a lucky submission. And Alexander
You
Hernandez is only getting better.
you may have convinced me on that one. I talked good about him, how good he looked since moving to Factory X as well. Yeah, I'm going to change my pick. You made me change my pick. When you talked about the wrestling, I remembered, how good he is. How good he is at wrestling, Hernandez. But yeah, I'll go with Hernandez, UD. But Alex Caceres versus Kevin Kroom in the main event to open the main card. I mean, a crazy fight between the two. And Kevin Kroom, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen this guy, he's incredible. He has a YouTube. Go check it out. Kevin Kroom is such a funny guy. He does like an embedded weekly vlogs of his training camp. Really fun to watch. And he's one of the most likable guys in MMA, man. He's so funny. I love him. Had the pleasure to talk to him. The interview will be on after this podcast if you're listening via audio. But, we talked quite a few months ago. But, a great fight with Alex Caceres. And I'd really love to see Kevin Kroom get it done. And I think he does. I think he gets it. I think he gets it via submission. We've seen his striking work against Roosevelt Roberts. We saw him knock him down and get that standing guillotine. I think if he gets it to the ground, that's where Kroom can really shine, and that's where he's going to get it to the ground. But man, if you look at his record, he's had a lot of losses, and that's what really runs through my head quite a lot. He's been submitted a lot of times. Been knocked out by Justin Gaethje back in the day. In his, what was it, like his sick fight, Justin Gaethje was making his debut, got slammed on his head. Ridiculous. Yeah, he's been knocked out a few times, and he's also been submitted a few times. I'm gonna pick Kevin Kroom for this fight via submission.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think Kevin Kroom gets this done by submission in the second round. If you've been listening to interviews with Kevin Kroom, he says this will not see a third round, and I'm gonna take him at his word. I think Kevin Kroom can land a bomb on the feet just like he did against Roosevelt Roberts, and get that guillotine. That standing guillotine of his is so slick, and Alex Caceres has shown that on the ground he's very submittable, which is why I chose him to lose to Chase Hooper, and we've seen Chase Hooper. He's a submission or nothing kind of guy, but Kevin Kroom also has some tools on the feet that he can use. And if he's training with guys like Derek Min or Julian Marquez, those guys showed that they can get it done on the ground, and I'm sure he can hang with Alex Caceres on the ground and eventually submit him. And as you said, Kevin Kroom is a fighter's fighter. This guy will take a fight on a day's notice, which he did against Roosevelt Roberts, and that might be why his record's not the best, because he's not picky about matchups. And I always respect that about guys. I usually tend to discredit guys that have beaten guys with losing records in the regional circuit. And he's fought legit guys on the regional circuit. So I think Kevin Kroom gets this done by submission. And Alex Caceres, he's looked good against like debutants and guys that aren't the highest of level, like Chase Hooper. But Kevin Kroom's no Chase Hooper. Kevin Kroom is getting this done.
Yeah, 100%. If you look at Caceres' record, got submitted by Cron Gracie. But man, if you have Gracie on at the end of you, you're legit on the ground. So there's no shame in that one. But submitted versus Jason Knight, been knocked out versus Francisco Rivera, who just came back actually at ex MMA. Vic versus I can't say the other guy's name, Vieira. But submitted versus Uriah Faber back in 2014. No shame in that one. Uriah Faber's a legend of the sport. So yeah, he's been submitted and mostly all via rear naked choke as well. So that would be interesting to see, But I'm going with Kevin Kroom submission in round 2.
Yep, I will agree with you.
We'll quickly talk about this next one. We've got Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoda. This recently just got put up. I credit Ashley Yoda taking this one on short notice. Angela Hill was scheduled to fight Tisha Torres. Not sure what happened to that fight, but Angela Hill still wanted to fight. She got rescheduled with Ashley Yoda. These two women have fought before. Angela Hill getting a nod that night also. And I see it go the same way. I think Angela Hill beats Ashley Yoda, and we'll see another unanimous decision win for Angela Hill. If you look at her recent record, Angela Hill, she says that she could be on an 8-fight win streak or something like that.
I guess
she beat Claudia Gadelha in my eyes. Michelle Watson, that was a close fight. But yeah, I think Angela Hill gets this one done.
I agree with you, but I do think that Ashley Yoda, if she comes in with a game plan to simply out-grapple Angela Hill, that's possible. We've seen Angela Hill get taken down and controlled by Claudia Gadelha, and Yoda looked good against Granger in the last one. This is going to be an interesting fight because this is a rematch, and I do think Yoda has improved since then, but Hill has also improved. And Hill also got taken down by Michelle Watson, who was once an enemy. So I think both these women can get it done, but I do think that Angela Hill will outstrike her, and she could get a finish. Who knows? But that's a pretty tough record on Yoder. I believe it's 9-6 or 8-6.
8-6.
But let's not forget that Angela Hill, when she went on that run of short notice fights, that she won most of them except Yan Xiaonan. Those were not the best of competition. Let's be honest.
Yeah, as you said, there a rematch. She went on them short notice fights. Hannah Cyphers, Loma Lukbumbi, and Aurelia Carolossi, and obviously against Jan as well. But she's willing to step in at short notice and fight whoever's there in front of her, and that's what Ashley Yoda did. And now she's getting that rematch, that loss, a potential to kind of get back that loss. But we got Pedro Munoz, another rematch. Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. These two are throwing it back once again. First fight was back in 2015. Almost got there. Jimmy Rivera took that one, split decision. And recently, Pedro Munoz losing to Aljamain, losing to Frankie Edgar in a close fight against Frankie Edgar. That was a war between them two. We saw Frankie Edgar, get really pushed to his limits in that fight. But Jimmy Rivera, lost against Aljamain Sterling. Arguably gave Peter Yan his toughest test to date in that fight. And in Cody Stanman, he looked incredible, looked great in that fight, looked really, rejuvenated. And against Pedro Munoz, I think he gets it done also. I think we see Jimmy Rivera, goes on a 2-fight win streak, get the job done versus Pedro Munoz.
Jimmy Rivera already beat Pedro Munoz, so that right there already gives me an incentive to pick him. But also, as we saw with Pedro Munoz and Frankie Edgar, I thought Pedro Munoz got the win that night, but the judges disagreed. But we saw Pedro Munoz implement those leg kicks against Frankie Edgar, and I don't think the judges respected those leg kicks. So if he continues to come out with that game plan, I don't think the judges will give him a nod. And I also think that Jimmy Rivera has the wrestling advantage here, and Pedro Munoz has an extremely good ground game. He once submitted Rob Font back in the day, and he has the power advantage. I think Pedro has the power advantage, and this could be a similar fight to Jimmy Rivera and Piotr Yan, if you remember that. Jimmy Rivera would win the round, but at the very end, he would get hurt bad and get knocked down. And that's what can happen against Pedro Munoz, as we saw with Cody Garbrandt. He knocked Cody Garbrandt out after Cody Garbrandt got in a wild exchange with him. But if Jimmy Rivera doesn't engage and he point fights, I think he'll get the judges' nod.
Yeah, we just ticked over 45 minutes. We'll quickly get this wrapped up. Montana De La Rosa versus Maria Bueno Silva. Give us your quick pick on this one.
Yeah, Montana De La Rosa has the better striking, if you ask me, and she has the better wrestling. But we cannot ignore the fact that Bueno Silva likes to win by armbar. She even submitted Julian Robertson with an armbar, who is a black belt. She's super legit on the ground, but assuming Montana De La Rosa can avoid those submissions, she'll probably get the judge's decision here. And I'm actually surprised she's the underdog in this one. She turns out elevation. She helped Shannon Dawson prepare for a big upset loss, and if she avoids those submissions, she'll get the judge's nod. And if it stays on the feet, I think she can also outstrike Bueno Silva.
If you look at the record of Montana De La Rosa, she's only been submitted once, and that was to Mackenzie Dern back in 2016. It was a rear naked choke. It says on here a tapology rare naked choke / omoplata. I don't know how that one works out, but that was back in 2016. She's only been submitted once. She's been knocked out versus Cynthia, as you can see there. But yeah, I'm going to pick Montana De La Rosa. You said that I feel like she's got the better striking advantage and also the wrestling. She might not be able to avoid the submission threat, but I feel like she's going to be able to beat her in the wrestling exchanges to kind of not let it get to the ground properly. Moving on to the main event, though. A great main event in store that we have. Rozenstruik versus... Oh, wait. We're not even on the main event yet.
Main event.
Co-main event of the evening. Nikita Krillov versus Ankalaev. A brilliant fight at light heavyweight. Nikita Krillov, in his last fight, we saw he beat Johnny Walker, unanimous decision, grappled him, lost to Tizera, got finished by a Jan Blachowicz on the ground, arm triangle choke, being finished by Mika Serkinov on the ground as well. And over in St. Preux, he's been in the UFC for a long while, and then he got cut, and then he came back. So he's had 2 chances. Ankalaev, we know how good this guy is. He's incredible. He showed it in his last fight against Ian Kutalaba when they had that weird, whatever happened in that first fight and then that rematch. Then he really put a stamp on the rematch and showed, he is the better fighter. What we saw in the first fight was not a fluke. This guy's got heavy hands. Most of his, fights do come via finishes. Not many, submission threat. In this fight, we see him, he got choked out versus Paul Craig in the last second. Let me add, in the last second, I believe that was in London as well. But yeah, it was in London. That was crazy. I remember that one. It was the last ever second of the fight. He gets choked out against Paul Craig. He was about to win as well. That was the thing. And then he gets choked out. But I can't see any other way than Magomed Ankalaev. I think he wins this and he can take it wherever he wants.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be betting on Magomed Ankalaev in this one. Even though he's a huge favorite, I think he can win this fight wherever he wants to win it. I think he can out-wrestle him. He can outstrike him. And I think he will knock him out in the 3rd round. Nikita Krillov had the cardio advantage against Johnny Walker, but that's not much of a statement because Johnny Walker is kind of a round one or bust kind of guy. And that's... He cannot... I don't think he can hang with Magomed Ankalaev on the feet or on the ground. I think on the ground he could get a lucky submission like Paul Craig did, but I just think that Magomed Ankalaev is improved since the Paul Craig fight, and he's actually on a 3-fight knockout win streak. Of course, the Ion Kutalaba controversial win is amongst those, but he's been looking for the finish as of late, and he's going to get it here against the guy who I think his only real chance is by submission.
Exactly. I'm picking Magomed Ankalaev in this fight. Maybe a KO in round 1 when they're both made a fresh. Oh, I think my camera might have just turned off. That scared me a little bit. But we'll quickly move on to the main event and we'll quickly get this wrapped up quickly. Jair Rozenstruik versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Cyril Gane. A great matchup at heavyweight. Who have you got?
I got Cyril Gane in this one. I think Cyril Gane is the more well-rounded fighter. We saw Jairzinho Rozenstruik get out-grappled by Alistair Overeem, and that's what I think is going to happen here. I do think that Jorginho has a little more pop on his punches, and he could put Cyril Gane to sleep. But we're going to see Cyril Gane implement an intelligent game plan here where he takes him down over and over and looks for the submission. And I think he will find the submission against Jorginho, who was just a kickboxer. And we have not seen this guy attempt a takedown in the UFC. But Cyril Gane did submit, who was it? I can't remember his name. Was it? Yeah, Dontel Mays. Dontel Mays. He submitted him with a heel hook, I believe, in the third round. And I think we'll see something similar here. I think he could knock out Jorginho, but I think he takes him down and gets that heel hook. That's what I see happening. I don't think Jorginho has the best of a ground game, and Cyril Gane he's going to be one of these top guys that sticks around for a while. This guy moves around so well for a heavyweight. He can submit you. He can knock you out. He can even point fight and he's going to be a star. I truly believe he will be a star. I think he'll if they do a fight night in France when the pandemic ends. I think he could be the headliner there.
They were teammates, and Gane recently said, well, not recently, he said in an interview that if it came to it, he would fight in Gane. Incredible, man! Imagine that, a fight night, main event, and Gane versus Gane. No, wait, in Gane versus Gane in Paris. Hello. I think we may have lost Oscar once again. Not a very good technical performance from us today. Anyway, we got 2 Oscars in there. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going fine. It's been a mess today, but this is gonna be this is gonna be what you deal with if you're doing live episodes.
Exactly. I was saying before you went. Imagine a main event. You said there in Gane in France. Imagine that in the middle of Paris. That would be incredible.
Absolutely, I would love to see it, but I would give the edge to Francis there. He has that insane power.
Yeah, you just can't bet against a Gane with his hands. It's ridiculous. But anyway, who have I got? I'm going to go with Gane with UD. I think the karate kind of stance. Hey, yeah,
really.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go.
You think?
Yeah, I think this goes 5.
Wow, this was.
I think it's a. Karen.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a 3-rounder, and since it got bumped up to a 5-rounder, I just don't see it going the distance. I can almost guarantee a finish in this one. These 2 guys are mostly finishers, and as Rozenstruik he can knock you out in the last second, as we saw against Alistair. I don't believe he actually put Alistair's lights out, but he's very dangerous. Almost, I think he's like a better, more versatile version of Derek Lewis, if you ask me.
Yeah, it definitely didn't put his Alistair's lights out, but he put his lip out. We saw his lip split. But yeah, I'm going to go with UD. I think this is going to be the toughest test in Gane's career on paper. Jorginho, he's got that power in his hands, got that technically, that kickboxing on the feet. But Cyril Gane, he's got that karate kind of stance, really good with his strikes. And I think this is going to be a point fight. Going to be really close. But if Jorginho lands that one big shot, it can be over in a matter of seconds. But I don't see it happening. I think Gane is very good on his, as I said there, his karate stance. He's really good on his feet. His mobility for a heavyweight is incredible. And I think he just kind of moves around the octagon for about 25 minutes. Maybe shoots a takedown once or twice, but I think he points fights in Rozenstruik and earns himself a UD.
I think if this goes to the judges' scorecards, there's no way Rozenstruik wins, because Rozenstruik in his fight against Junior Dos Santos was not busy. In fact, he lost the first round to Junior Dos Santos, according to 2 judges. He was just looking for that big bomb, and if he fights like this against Cyril Gane, who's always moving, he moves like a middleweight, man. This guy's very impressive. If he fights like he fought against Junior Dos Santos, it's not going to be good for him against Cyril Gane.
100%. I agree with you, Oscar. Well, that's the end of this episode. A shorter one on paper, which is what we're trying to aim for here. We don't want to keep it for too long because we feel like we want to keep it short and sweet. Tell you what we need to tell you, and then leave you to get on the rest of your day. So from me and Oscar, a very goodbye. Thank you for joining me, Oscar, once again.